Welcome to another edition of Motivational Sundays with Kevin and Friends. This show was originally created to take one of more than 300 motivational quotes that I had created for the contents of my books. And with the 40 years of experience that I've studied human behavior, I was always curious and wondered how the same quote landed from one person to another. Were they just words that laid there on a page, or were there conversations to be had? So I got together with a couple of my friends, and they're here with my as my co-host. I have Danielle Colvin. She is a educator over in the Bronx at a charter school and making waves with her seagrass, and we'll talk about that later. We have another educator on our panel. She is one of my conscience, keeps me make sure that I hit record every single week. Denise Lopes. We also have a new podcaster with a great show. If you guys haven't tuned in to Anne Marie's show, you definitely have to do that. So Anne Marie Maloney, all three educators, by the way, all this pouring content into the minds of our young people, preparing our world to be a better place tomorrow than it is today. And believe it or not, when you talk about two doves that need to be together, inseparable, two penguins that are joined together by life, there's only a handful, and I say 1% of people that are meant to be together. And this is an example of what together looks like. Christopher and Gilda James, how you doing? And believe it or not, anytime I travel, I always need someone because I have my shortcomings, and this person points them out to me every single day, but she protects me in public. I cannot go out and see the sunrise or the sunset without Miss Larness Kinsey. Thank you for all that you do, all the connections you make. You talking about someone that's connected not only to the universe, she is connected to what makes the universe go work. And, and when I can't say this, I wish I had this golden voice. I wish I had this golden voice. The voice of our show, Mr. Not only is he so beautiful, Mr. Otis Spencer. It takes a very confident man to look another man in his eyes, shake his hand, and says how beautiful he is and how much of a gift he is to this world. He's going to be a star. So any of you guys that are looking for someone to be the voice of your show, all right, you don't need to ask what's in your wallet. You need to ask, why did you pick Otis? All right. So with that said, my name is Kevin McLemore. I am the show host, and we meet every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're probably the only platform that everyone is welcome as long as you bring a positive attitude and prepare to be part of a great experience. So with that said, Mr. Otis, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to put my feet up in the chair and let you deliver today's motivational quote with Kevin and Friends.
Grand Rising, everyone. Happy Sunday. You are only free when you realize you belong no place. You belong every place, no place at all. The price is high. The reward is great.
Maya Angelou. It's amazing what you put out into this world, and how you live is how you're remembered, and how you remember is what you put out in the world. And she keeps leaving nuggets with us. And so I'm going to open this up. You know, we have queens on here, a lot greater minds. And I will tell you, there's a new documentary that's coming out. It says, Dear America, Letters from a Black Woman. If you do not know your history, if you don't understand democracy, you don't understand what freedom is, if you don't understand what community is, you'll understand when you look in the eyes of another Black woman just trying to put all those things together, because we would not have any of the things that I've mentioned if it had not been for collectively strong Black women making things happen. And so I'm going to open up this show today with one of the titans on our show, Miss Anne Marie Maloney.
Grand Rising, everyone. Grand Rising, everyone. Oh my goodness. I want to know if I can circle back at the end of this because what I'm about to say might be heresy. So, so I want to preface this by saying, if I had a daughter, her name would be Maya. That is how much I love Maya Angelou. I discovered her in my youth, and I was so enamored with Still I Rise. It was kind of like my mantra for a while, okay? So I'm thinking about this quote and its interpretation, and then I went to, do I agree with the quote? It really? So in terms of what the quote is saying, you are only free when you realize you belong no place. The loveliness of that statement, in terms of belonging every place, is the ability to understand that you're not tied to one location. You're not attached to staying put to one house, one city, one country. You're not attached to continuing the belief system that someone may have taught you and embedded in you and cultivated in you. So it is a quote that suggests a freeing or letting go of attachments. So the other part of it would suggest that you have the universe inside of you. For me, that universe might be Holy Spirit, right? In terms of a God's presence, and that our universe is within. The price is high. You have to let go some people. You have to set some boundaries. You have to understand that everybody is not for you, and that is difficult. So why then would I say I'm about to commit heresy? I say that because up until that point, in terms of the interpretation, I love it. I love what it means. I love what it stands for. On the other hand, I love certain things that are attachments. I love my culture. Talk about being a Black woman. I love that. Hello? I love, Sunday dinners. And I love these social constructs that one can say, let's push that to the side. No, I want to keep those social constructs. There are some of them that suit me, that help me identify who I am as a person. They shape my identity. And ultimately, this quote is about it is about freedom and identity wrapped up together. And I find my identity in some of the norms and some of the traditions that occur. My growth and evolvement just comes from being at a certain place of maturation that I can choose which ones are for me, which ones are not serving me, and be able to create a whole new thing in the hands of God. So that's how it hits me. That's how this quote hits me.
That's right.
So there you go.
And the nice thing about it is freedom allows you to speak your truth. You don't always have to agree. Um, but the reward is that you're free to speak your truth. So much appreciated. And like I said, I'm feeling a certain type of way today after my experience Wednesday with executive producers and the power of women. I peeled back another layer of respect and love for the titans I have on here that happen to be female. I am so blessed to be amongst greatness, amongst the power, the beauty, and the compassion. And I hate to be Christopher after following Mary and Marie on that, but I'm going to put you out there. I'm going to say before the first shot is fired over the bow. Thank you for your service, and I will do this every single week. I hopefully that my blessings and me saying how grateful I am for you fighting for a country that often did not fight for you, and that you've embraced your freedom not only as a public servant, but as a husband, a father, an uncle, as a proud Black man. All right. You don't hear many shows talk about us like that, do we? So, Christopher, how does this quote land on you?
Grand Rising, and thank you again, Kevin. And I'll say thank you as many times as you say thank you. I'll say thank you back. Hey, I had a hard time with this quote. Similar to Anne Marie's, dual-sidedness of it. What I instantly attached to was the fact that um, shortly after joining the Navy, they sent me to the East Coast. So right away, and I knew I would be sent away from home, but right away, I really felt homesick. I really felt, oh my goodness, this is not, California. This is not the West Coast. Um, I was fortunate enough to meet people on the East Coast, and a lot of them went a great length out of their way to make me feel at home. And so it wasn't too long. I actually felt, okay, I'm on the East Coast, but I still feel at home. Um, so I guess in a way, I didn't really give up the West Coast, but I felt comfortable on the East Coast. It wasn't long before the Navy decided, well, we need you someplace else. So I spent a lot of time in Scotland, and then later on, I was able to take my wife with me to Italy for about 3 years. Um, and shortly after that, I came back again to the East Coast, and it wasn't long before we were traveling again. In fact, somewhere around 85, I think, we were in Australia and from there around the world. What I can relate then to what Maya was saying was that once I accepted the fact that home will just be a starting point and not so much where, a place that I'll have all of my attachments. My attachments will be pretty much around the world. Um, and that I should accept the fact that I am now a world traveler, a world entity. Who is it? I can't recall a family member saying, "Oh, you're just a sailor with a girl in every port." And I'm saying, "Okay, yeah, I'm a sailor." I didn't, uh, buy into the fact or give away the fact that I actually don't have a girl in every port, but it is a concept or a belief that okay, I'm all over the place. The world has opened its arms to me, and I found myself in the presence of great people that I would not have met had I stayed in Bakersfield, California. So um, a lot of what Maya says is true. And if I look back at all my nights of homesickness, the price was high, but the reward is that I can now say this planet, is my home. Wherever I find a familiar face or a similar, component, I'm at home. Um, and that's pretty much how I can see this quote. The loss is felt, when you're sitting back writing those letters to home, but the reward is great when no matter where you are, you can see people that you can attach to, and you feel a family that you really had no idea you were part of until you stepped away from home and opened up to the idea that you got a lot more going for you than just that quaint little village back on the West Coast. The world's huge and the world's beautiful.
The world is definitely beautiful, especially with you in it. Thank you for your gift. And I was going to go right over to Gilda since you were talking about um, a sailor having a girl in every port. I noticed you landed somewhere, and look what happened. But I'm going to save that because I want Gil to savor it on that conversation to make sure she confirms that she was the last stop. But let me go to Danielle Coleman. Our educators doing great things over there in the Bronx, over here in New York. Danielle, welcome back.
Thank
You've been
you.
missed. Um,
You.
you came back at a good time, Maya Angelou. I'm going to ask Otis why you think about it and kind of set up your thought process for our listeners that are just tuning in. Otis, you want to go ahead and give us that golden voice yourself.
Surely, surely. You're only free when you realize you belong no place. You belong every place, no place at all. The price is high. The reward is great.
It's amazing when he speaks, it makes you feel kind of way, doesn't it? All right. And this is Sunday. God, please forgive me. Thank you, Otis.
You're welcome.
Danielle, how does this quote land on you?
Good morning, everyone. It is truly a pleasure to be here with all of you. For me, these quotes always land with my students and the moments that I have with my friends. And the conversation has been recently all about becoming the best version of yourself and making those sacrifices and drawing boundaries in Sharpie marker instead of highlighters. Because when you start to become selfish, people become offended and they start to distance themselves from you. But this quote lands with me because sometimes we do have to take a step back and take care of ourselves so that we can consider travel, so that we can consider new things. So this connects with the conversation that I've had with my students since school started. You're going to make new friends. And some of those friends may have good influences on you, and some may have negative influences. You have to make a choice to take care of yourself first, ground yourself in your own beliefs, get to know who you are, and then start to make decisions with where you want to go to school and the friends that you want to keep. And that moment may appear to be selfish, but the results are you are going to come back a better version of yourself, which will make you present for everyone else around you. So that quote really hit home, and I'm going to take it back to school and just put it on the board and just wait for the comments. Thank you.
That's it. What you say in short, without saying reach one, teach one? All right, we've heard that before. I wish I can say it was an original quote. My grandfather gave it to me. I have no idea where he got it from. But in the film, Dear America, Letters from a Black Woman, I heard another elder say that quote. So I know it's been passed down through generation from generation, and it's landed on me this way. So Gilda, all right, I don't know what port we found you in, but we're so glad that his ship pulled in and he found you. Gilda James, how does this quote land on you?
Grand Rising, everyone.
Right.
This quote lands on me about about true freedom lies in university, belonging with a high price, immense benefits. That's how it landed on me.
Short and sweet, but short and powerful. All right. There you go. Denise Lopes, again, if you have not read any of her books on the spoken word and whatever, she showed up today as the cover of her book today. I advise that, would advise if you get a chance to read some very powerful words, that, she'll tell you how to get it on Amazon. But I'm just curious to see how another educator, and like I said, when I say Titans, these women on this show, they're the real deal. All right. These are thorns. Otis, myself, Naheem, surrounded by nothing but roses. All right. That little flower shop on Fifth Avenue that is $12 a stem. These are the ones they keep in the back room that are $24. All right. These are the ones that you only give one time when you fall in love, not on every holiday. These are the roses that you take home. All right. Denise Lopes, how's this quote land on you?
Grand Rising, everyone. For me, it goes back to the imposter syndrome. For me, you belong here. So for me, it's like as a immigrant and stuff, I came to this country at 14. I didn't feel like I belonged at school. I didn't feel like, because I didn't know the language, I felt excluded. So for me, leaving home and coming over here, like at home, I felt like I belonged. That was my place that I was born. And right now at school, I'm the only educator of color. So last year, I had a hard time, and I kept on asking myself, do I belong in this place? Is this where I'm supposed to be? Is this my purpose? I'm gonna get emotional because it was hard. Oh, sorry. And
It's okay.
I had to realize that that was the place I belonged to. Um, I was there for a purpose. I was there for the students, and that's why, like Danielle said, I talk to my students about that. A lot of them they want to go back home, like elementary school, but they still feel that they don't belong. There was a lot of racism. There was a lot of inequality in education last year, and I had to fight for that, and I had to keep strong for them, for the student, and for me, feeling that I belong. Like, how I'm gonna tell the students that they belong here. How am I gonna make them feel that they belong here? That this is their place. Uh, and I had to realize that I had to work in my own classroom, not with the administrators. And with that, like we built the family, like we felt that we belonged in that classroom. And that went through like so when they went to the other classrooms, like to gym and stuff, they start feeling that they belong because they had a family to come back to. They had a place in my room to come back to. And that was the price was high because I had to make sure I felt that I belonged in order to show that to my students. And the reward was great because at the end of the year, they made progress. They learned English, um, and some of them became like family in the classroom. So this year, I don't have a classroom like that. My students, when they see me, they hug me and they're like, I miss you. And now they feel like they belong in the school. And for me, I found my place. I found my purpose. I'm in that school for a reason. I'm the only Black teacher there for a reason with a diverse group of students. So when they see me, they see somebody that looks like them. And with my hair, you guys say today, my student goes, "Oh, we have the same hairstyle." So I'm trying to, like, I see their hair, I do it the same way the next day. They're like, "Oh yeah, you have the same hair as me." So it's like you belong. And in my classroom, my it's been my mission for a long time. But I have all Black authors in my like books displayed. The students see themselves in the books that I use in the classroom. So that's how that landed on me. I'm sorry for being emotional, but last year was very emotional. I had to find my purpose. I had to find my why and the place I belong to.
Well, I'm glad you found your purpose and your why is still living. We had a little technical difficulty every time you moved. Your mic um, became stagnant, but we've got
Okay.
the message. And I will say this, and I say this with, like I said, I feel a certain way after watching the movie, the documentary, uh, Dear America, Letters from a Black Woman. And when I look at and hear the stories of melanated people and look at my co-hosts on this show, it's like when I hug one of the two survivors of Tuskegee Airmen, my heart touched history. When I met for the first time a survivor that crossed a George Pettis Bridge and held her, history touched me. When I watch this documentary and I look at um, every single person on this platform today, I have realized that we're making history in order for someone to be touched or someone that's coming up next in order to understand their history. There's been a disconnect in the message that was given. We appreciate it, but our young people right now, for some reason, has a disconnect. And I hope that this platform allows you to understand you do have a place in this country. You're probably the only group in this world to this very day, um, generation after generation, we still are trying to find our place and trying to figure out how we belong and how we fit in. But when we look at the truth of the matter, is that the reason why this country is the great America that it is we built this son of a gun. All right. We do make the difference. They do follow us. But for some reason, we're not given the proper recognition for our contributions that we've given. So with that said, I went out of order in how we normally do our quotes. And I did this for a reason. So it's purposeful. Because the person that brought this quote is someone that's very dynamic and very powerful. And I just wanted to make sure that the rest of us got heard because you're going to ignore us after this. Um, so, Larnez, this quote was personal to you. And so I save the best for last. All right. Even though Otis and I have to go, I have to be honest. All right. We cannot hold a candle to you. All right. So with that said, I'm going to buckle up and I'm just going to ask you to fire away. Tell us how this quote landed on you.
Well, thank you. Grand Rising. I always giggle to myself when you start talking because you always bring an antic from like 1965. Son of a gun? Like, who says that in 2024? I'm just saying. Grand Rising to everyone. Um, all
She,
right,
she,
let's
she just called me old. I just want to let you guys know that.
because I was laughing. I was like, what? um, Maya Angelou was wasn't just dropping words, she was giving life lessons. This is about real unfiltered freedom. To get there, you need courage. Courage is the foundation, the backbone of it all. Because stepping outside of what it's expected of you, letting go of trying to fit in, that takes guts. It's courage to walk into any place and know you belong simply because you exist. You don't need anyone's permission or approval to validate your presence. Then, when I look at this quote, there's a vulnerability about it because that's the part of the freedom, too. A lot of people think vulnerability makes them weak, but it actually is one of the strongest moves you can make. When you're vulnerable, when you open, when you let people see who you really are, you're saying, this is me, take it or leave it. That's a level of confidence that most people don't even come close to. And here's the beautiful thing about reaching that level of freedom. Once you stop worrying about where you belong or whether people accept you, you realize you belong everywhere and nowhere all at once. You're free. You can step into any space, be around anyone, and still feel whole because you're not looking for validation outside of yourself. You're centered, you're grounded in who you are. Because let's keep it real, that freedom comes at a price. It takes courage to step into this, to release the need to fit and just exist as you are. But the reward, it's everything. It's that unshakable feeling of walking through the world knowing you're enough, that you bring value just for being you. That's the kind of freedom that lets you live your life on your terms. So, yeah, the price is high, but the reward is beyond worth it. When you have the courage to be vulnerable, to show up fully and let go of the needs to belong somewhere specific, that's when you realize you belong everywhere. And that, my friends, is where the real freedom comes from. And that's exactly what it looks like. So that's why I chose this quote. And that's how this hit me.
Way to go, way to go. And she dropped the mic. She sounded at the little Indian almost like Naeem and Otis. I just want to let you know, if you want to say that's what she said, I'm okay with that because
What did she say?
I'm just glad it's you, not me. So, Otis, everyone knows by the time when Otis speaks, we're wrapping up the show because the voice, he's the first and the last word you should hear. Unfortunately, you got to hear me for the last verse, but I'm probably not going to be as dynamic as any of my co-hosts on here, which I would say I love you and I much appreciate the titans that I have on this show. Otis, with that silky, smooth voice of yours, and with that image of a strong Black woman, an icon, Maya Angelou, behind you, looking at you with those eyes, saying, "Don't mess it up, Otis." Can you repeat that quote one more time and give us your take on that?
Certainly. You are only free when you realize you belong no place. You belong every place, no place at all. The price is high and the reward is great. Well, at least here on this planet, I can't see we're always free, but we always have obligations. There are people out there that we need to be around, or that they need you. But not till that day that we meet our maker is the day when you're absolutely free.
I didn't think anyone could follow Larnez. Woo! You see the smoke? Clear the room, guys. Clear the room. Otis brought it.
It's the universe within you. Yes.
I'm going to tell you, if I was a poker player, every card is a winner turning over today. You guys killed it today. All right. I so want to keep my mouth shut. I don't want to mess this thing up here. But anyway, I guess I got to take my shot at it. So it hit me a certain way because I've been carrying around the power of a Black woman, the words of the letters of a Black woman, and going through my history of saying that every single thing that has ever happened good to people of color has been led by a strong Black woman. You cannot turn the page of history and not look at one single stance, the civil rights movement, women's freedom movement, you name it, women's rights movement. The reason why it became a movement is because of a strong Black woman. So when I look at this quote, I have to look to say and be honest with myself. Life as we see it now is divided in pieces. Everyone needs to be labeled with a specific group, place, but rather than belonging to a letter of the alphabet and wanting to be part of everything, but nowhere simultaneously. All freedom comes with a cost. Removing oneself from a community is a disconnect from the freedom that most of us search for in our daily lives or in our daily conversations. The reward is the connection to the whole, the ability to move freely, to speak freely, to teach and learn your history freely without editing or censored or the facts of the truth. The truth rewards is life freely, by living life freely without any restrictions to social limitations or expectations. The secret is there is no single place of belonging. None of us used to belong to one place. None of us should feel tied down to a single identity or a social group or location. The truth is, you belong everywhere. The truth and the reward is in the truth within your heart. It's how you belong and how you fit in. So with that said, that's how the quote landed on me. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Motivational Sundays with Kevin and Friends. And I want to thank my co-hosts, and I'll do this by name, Gilda and Christopher James, Anne Marie Mahoney, Danielle Colvin, Denise Lopes, my bodyguard, Arnaz Kinsey, the voice of our show, Otis Spencer. We meet every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you liked what you've heard today, we ask you to share, comment, or even subscribe. Go to our YouTube page at RMK Productions and Network, and you can follow us. If you'd like to be a guest, go to www.rmkproductions.org, and the show link is in there. I think also the show link is also in the description. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And you've heard me mention multiple times during this show, there's a new documentary out there. It's called Dear America, Letters to a Black Woman. We are in a very crucial time in our life, in our history. You can either be part of the conversation going forward, or you can be a witness to the reason why the conversation going forward is not moving us forward as a nation, as a country. Years ago, I said after the last election, I said, next time vote. I said, this time, vote with a vengeance. It is your responsibility, it's your duty. It is part of your history. Christopher sacrificed his life in freedom for your freedom. Dr. King and those before him, Harriet Tubman, the Garnet Truth, April Ryan, Michelle Obama, candidate Harris, all make sacrifices for your truth. I'm not telling you how to vote. I'm just telling you to vote and understand why you're voting and that your vote matters. Don't just waste it based on your education from social media. So with that said, I'm not going to get too deep in this right now, but I'm going to tell you it's going to get deeper if you don't do the right thing. Spike Lee, what's up? So with that said, my grandfather always said, when you get to a place in life, it is your duty to do so. He said, reach one, teach one. Denise, if you don't mind. With that said, we what?
Fade to black.
And ladies and gentlemen, we're out until next week. Bye-bye.